maybe as a technical or technology enthusiast end user, if we're doing hardware, what are the internals of the hardware? What different LTE bands do we support? All those kind of things we try to go as kind of deeply in as possible and do it in the shortest amount of time possible, because we, like all of you, are probably not the most patient wanting to read like 100-page white papers or whatever we used to do a few years ago. So we try to make that as dense and condensed as we can. So we're going to, in 15 minutes, show all of Windows Virtual Desktop, except for the service configuration side, which we showed with Brad Anderson this morning. We're going to show something else that's a sneak peek in terms of the day-to-day management and operations that you probably haven't seen yet. So hopefully everybody's excited, everybody's doing well. The last two shows of Mechanics Live here at the event, we saved the best for last with Scott, and Damian Brady is going to come up and show Azure DevOps after Scott. So good stuff on day two. Anybody sign up for the preview yet for Windows Virtual Desktop?
All right.
Everybody in the front row, at least, the people on the Windows Virtual Desktop team? Hopefully. All right. You got to remember that for the reviews later.
That's right. Peter gets a 4.
Yes, exactly. Cool. Okay, looks like everybody's interested in your technology.
Well, you're a good hype man.
We try. We've got also the men in gold pants, as we like to call them.
I think that's actually what people are here for, is the dance guys.
The gold pants and the flashing shoes. We'll try to be flashy with our technology without the bright lights and the blinking. It's all just through Windows Virtual Desktop.
Real code.
Exactly. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's do it. Microsoft Mechanics Live. Coming up, we're going to take a closer look at the brand new Windows Virtual Desktop, now in public preview, that really gives your users the only Windows 10 multi-session experience virtualized in the cloud and available for any device. Now we're going to show you how it delivers also the best Office experience with multi-session virtual scenarios. And stay tuned and stay here for a sneak peek of the next generation admin experience in the Azure portal. Today my partner in crime is Mr. Scott Manchester from the Windows Virtual Desktop team. Welcome, Scott.
Thanks, Jeremy. Good to see you again.
So congratulations on the public preview. It's available right now. You should be signing up for it as we speak. I think you can do that from your phones, right?
That's right, yeah. It's a great milestone we reached here, and I want to thank all of our partners and all of the folks that have been in our private preview. A handful of our partners are here at the show today. We got some folks up front here. We've got Citrix represented. Please come by their booth. We've got some folks from Samsung here. Please come by and see these guys. We're going to show you guys some great demos using some Samsung devices. I think we have a handful of our other partners out here as well. We've got Login BSI, Lakeside, and some other folks here as well.
Very cool. So you mentioned a lot of things already, but what's new and cool with Windows Virtual Desktop that we might not have seen before?
Well, we've got a lot of new things to show you here. If you're a user, we've really focused on giving you the full Windows 10 and Office productivity experience, regardless of the deployment type, whether it's multi-user or single user, or whether my IT admin is provisioned server-based computing or VDI. And if you're an IT admin, now we have a single solution for you now to host remote apps and desktops. You can use either server, Windows 10, Windows 7, or you can use our Windows 10 multi-user, which is kind of the premier offering we've got here.
Okay, so why don't we start with the end user experience? How's that been enhanced?
Yeah, so we've made great progress across all our clients, but what I want to show you here is one of our new clients. This is a Windows client that'll work all the way from Windows 7 all the way through the latest version of Windows 10. Now you can see within this workspace, I can launch any of the apps or desktops that my IT admin has provisioned for me. And you can see there's a number. There's a Windows 7 machine, some Windows 10 machines, and a handful of remote apps. But the cool thing about this app, not only can I launch Stripe from this application, but it also integrates in with my Start menu. So if I go down here and scroll down to the folder for my tenant, you can see all those same apps and desktops are hosted here as well. So let me go ahead and run one of these apps. Let's run Word. Minimize this. So there's Word running out of a remote app. This is actually hosted out of a server all the way back in the West Coast. And you can see the performance is fantastic. In fact, most of my team has actually been working out of WVD all day long, 24/7. We run all of our apps, Office, Outlook, everything all day long out of this environment. But let me show you some other cool integrations we've got with the shell. So if I right-click on this Word icon, you'll see here that I can actually pin this to the taskbar. So now if I close that app, and bring my taskbar back up, you'll see that there's my Word icon, and I can just launch it directly from here from then on. So the look and feel of this app is just like a native app. So I can pin it, I can go full screen, I can even copy and paste between my other applications. So for all intents and purposes, it really feels like a native application.
Right, so it's really easy to customize your Start experience here, your taskbar. The remote apps look and feel like native apps. They sit right next to the ones that you maybe get provisioned from IT. Now with traditional VDI though, one of the things I think a lot of people have concerns about, I think probably most people here are using virtual desktop in some flavor, running Office applications, because running those in non-persistent storage environments on virtual machines has been a challenge in the past, right?
Yes, Outlook and other Office applications traditionally require data persistence. They want to cache all your specific user data.
Yeah.
But a typical IT admin wants to deploy a multi-session, multi-user, non-persistent environment to maximize resources and get the most out of their resources.
It's all about utilization, right? You guys want to have the most amount of users on a VM, the most amount of people on a server. So you don't want the overhead of a full copy of Windows for every single user.
Right.
That way these multi-user sessions with non-persistent storage in a lot of cases make a lot more sense. That's pretty the most common scenario that we see with VDI today, versus dedicating maybe one VM per user, which obviously you could persist the storage, but it's really expensive compute-wise.
Yeah, that's right. One of the new value propositions we have with this Windows 10 multi-user is now we can enable the best of both worlds. So now I can deploy Windows 10 Enterprise multi-session and have a rich Office experience, and this is enabled by FS Logic. We announced this earlier today at Brad's session. FS Logic technology is integrated into Windows Virtual Desktop, so now all your Office and other application data can roam with you. So let me show you this, what this looks like in real life.
All right, let's do it.
So I've also connected up to a Windows 10 multi-user edition here. Let me just prove it to you. So I'll bring up Task Manager. And though it's very early in the morning back in the States, we do have a couple of people logged into this VM. So,
and it's Client OS, just to be clear.
I'm running full Windows Client OS here, so you'll see things like the OneDrive Sync agent and other things running here. So let me launch Outlook, and you'll see just how fast this loads. So this actually, for all intents and purposes, looks and feels to me like the same desktop machine that I have under my desk at work as well.
Right, so your inbox just instantly loaded because it didn't have to actually recache everything from Exchange Online in this case.
That's right, it's already just moved with me to this session. So I'll show you, not only is all my Outlook data here, but if I do a search, my index data migrated with me as well. So not only did it bring the OST, it brought all the index information. So now I can do all my searches locally within my inbox.
Yep.
So let me show you how the IT admin has this configured here. So if I go under my account settings, you can see that I'm running in cached exchange mode. Now this is something that was nearly impossible to achieve in a non-persistent environment in the past. You have to either run in pure online mode, and that obviously there's a lot more traffic. It takes a while before you're able to access your mail, and searches and things like that are much slower. So this is the optimal mode to be able to run in, and now we can do this in a non-persistent environment.
Right, and the beauty here of FS Logic is that we've actually containerized effectively the user profile data so that we can match that up with the session they get brokered to right at login. They might log into a different VM every single time they log in. Because they've got that storage, we can match it up to their session. It's going to feel like persistent cache, in this case for Outlook, for things like OneDrive, etc.
Yeah, that's right. So your IT admin may have set up a giant host pool of 50 VMs, and you might get routed to a different one each time. But the way with FS Logic, it just looks like everything's running from the C drive.
Very cool. I know that we've done some other Office optimizations. Can you show us something else?
Yeah, I hinted at this just a minute ago. So one of the other things that FS Logic brings is the ability to use your OneDrive when your data is stored on a shared drive, not necessarily physically attached to the machine, which is a typical environment you'd see in a public cloud. You'd set up a file share to host all your container files for all your users. Now I can mount that, have my OneDrive data. So here you can see the sync client is running. And if I bring up the OneDrive folder, you can see I'm running OneDrive with files on demand. So actually looking at this new status column, you can see that some of these files have a little cloud icon next to them. That means that they're actually stored up in my OneDrive account.
And they're not locally cached and kind of ready or on the machine local in that storage.
Exactly. And then the one here that has a green box, this is one that I've loaded, so it's part of my most recently used files. So it's available locally here. And then this one here with the solid green box, this is one that I've clicked on and said, make this always available. Because I don't want it to roll out with the MRU over time. But let me show you what this is like if I want to access a file that's not actually physically located on this machine. So let's grab one that's a rather large one here. Here's a nice big 17 meg file here. And you'll see what happens when I click on this is it actually is copying that 17 meg file, and it was near instantly copied down to my machine, and now I'm launching it.
Very cool. So what's happening behind the scenes here? Because you mentioned we've got this FX Logic's integration. We're basically using OneDrive, and I think the reason it's so fast is because the virtual machine's actually kind of in the same data center that OneDrive is hosting its data. So how does this all work?
Yeah, so let's kind of walk you through it. So let's say I have my 1 terabyte of storage as part of my Office subscription. And all this content is hosted in OneDrive. Now the OneDrive sync client and Windows 10 multi-session both work together to support OneDrive files on demand. And so because of this, I can set up a much smaller data disk for my user cache. And my most recently used files and always available files, the ones that I've clicked to make stored there, are readily available to me. So when I want to access them, they immediately hydrate across the high-speed Microsoft Cloud to ensure that I get those files available to me as fast as possible. And then once it's downloaded, it just launches like any other app. So super quick, it's seamless to the user, and really easy for them to manage, what files can be pinned to their OneDrive, and then let the OneDrive sync agent take care of everything else.
Okay, so this is really cool stuff. What if I'm on a machine though that doesn't have a native Windows Virtual Desktop client?
Well, we have native applications for almost every platform, Jeremy, but when you do run into that situation where you don't have, maybe it's not your machine or you don't have a native client installed, you can simply just use a browser. In fact, why don't we test this out on your machine?
All right, so let's do it. So I'm in a browser here. I've actually got myself logged in with an account. The nice thing is I can have all of my different applications that are provisioned for me by IT. I can also do desktops themselves, and I'm just going to click into a Windows 10 multi-user session here. Everything's running. Nice thing is I can actually hit this little button here in the corner, and it looks like a full screen, client session. You wouldn't almost know that this is running in a.
I think if I just walked up right now and looked at your machine, I would just think that's running your local desktop. Yeah.
One of my favorite things is I can also obviously launch a browser now within a browser. And the cool thing is because we're running it in a browser, we can actually, if we wanted to, keep going deeper and deeper. You talk about nested virtualization. I could open up more and more of these desktops to where it looks like something crazy, but I've got everything running here inside of a browser effectively, and I can do this from any machine as long as I can auth into it securely.
I'm sure there's IT admins out there that appreciate this feature, using a browser and getting into a jump box and then getting into some resources we needed to manage. So yeah, a lot of application here.
Totally, but let's move on to mobile platforms. So then you got a phone up here in this randomly placed screen. What's that all about?
Just to show up, yeah. Well, as we know, everybody's mobile today, and they want to connect to corporate resources from any device. With Windows Virtual Desktop, we now provide the premier platform for delivering remote apps and desktops to these users. Now, while we provide the same great experience across all major platforms, let me show you how this works on Samsung DeX. In fact, we're joined by some folks from Samsung right up here in the front. We recently announced a partnership with them at MWC in Barcelona. So what I have here is I have a Samsung Galaxy Note 9. In fact, this is your phone, Jeremy. And I'm connected up here over a USB cable to this display. Now, I'm actually running our remote desktop client here, and I can use this device as actually a mouse. You can see I can actually move the mouse cursor around. But I also happen to have brought with me a portable keyboard and a small Bluetooth mouse. And now I can simply use this upgrade mouse operation on that shiny screen. But I can use this as a full productive experience now with a full keyboard, full mouse. Now I'm running a Windows 10 VDI session here. So this would be that environment you mentioned, like a personal desktop session.
Yep.
But if I remote back to this main menu of our app here, you'll see all that same resources that I had available to me on my PC. Both the apps and the desktops are right here available to me on this device as well. So I could have flown all the way across the country, in fact, flew halfway across the world to get here.
Yep.
Just brought with me this little bag here that I carry my phone, keyboard, and mouse in, and then just find a spot,
Walk
plug
up
in.
to any machine, basically, as long as you can get an HDMI feed into it, and you're off and running.
Yeah, it's really an amazing experience, and I think the Samsung guys almost have me convinced to retire my iPhone.
Yeah.
It's pretty compelling when you actually start using
You
this.
can applaud up if you think this is exciting. I think this is pretty cool stuff. All right. So go ahead. So the great thing is, I think you can really work from anywhere. And it's got a great appeal, I think, for mobile workers that maybe don't want to have to carry a laptop with them everywhere they go. Maybe they don't have a laptop issued by the company. This really frees up a lot of extra different scenarios.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of interest from our customers about this solution because there's a really large trend around mobile and modern office workspaces where you're either sharing shared spaces or using hot desking. And this can be a great fit for contractors, law enforcement officers, or the road warriors that just need that occasional touchdown spot to be productive.
Right. And they can see how Virtual Desktop or Windows Virtual Desktop really breaks down the barriers both from the user experience side across mobile devices and personal devices. You've been really cranking on stuff. It's been a lot of updates really since we saw you at Ignite. But what's new on the management side? All these folks here, I think, are IT admins, IT professionals. What can they do in terms of managing Windows Virtual Desktop? What's that going to look like?
Yeah, so as you know, we started from the ground up when we built WVD. We started with a set of REST APIs, and pretty much every capability of the service can be executing on our REST APIs. And then sitting on top of that, we have PowerShell. Every single function can be managed through PowerShell. And then on top of that, we've built ARM templates and other tools.
Yep.
Brad showed earlier today our Azure Marketplace tool, and he showed how you can build out an entire deployment in 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Now, in that 7 minutes, you've built out a host pool that shared the full desktop to a named set of users that you would have entered into that setup wizard.
Right.
But there's a lot more that you may want to do within the Azure portal. So what I want to show you next is a sneak preview. This is not in the private preview yet, but it's coming soon. Is a full Azure portal experience for deploying and managing Windows Virtual Desktop.
Yeah, let's do it.
So let me switch back here to my main machine. Bring up my browser. Now, again, this is in our dog food environment, but what I've done here is I've looked up the tenants that I have available to me, and I'm actually going to connect up to that tenant that was hosting all the resources you and I have been using today, and you can see that I've got a number of host pools here. Now, host pools is a new concept. It's a rebranding of other things you're probably familiar with, of collections and other terms, but it's somewhat unique in the capability that we expose with host pools in Windows Virtual Desktop. Because a host pool can be a set of servers, a set of client desktops, Windows 10 multi-user, and I can provision that collection of VMs to either share the full desktop or share different apps. So I'm going to click into this Windows 10 multi-session environment here. And here in the summary screen, you can see I can get some information about the deployment, how many servers I have, how many active sessions are running. This is really a cool thing up here, this registration key, because Windows Virtual Desktop can be deployed in one of two ways. Okay. One is I can run a wizard like Brad showed this morning, where I actually build out the VMs, and our agent gets installed automatically, and the VMs are added to the service. But if I already have an existing deployment and I simply want to just migrate those VMs into the service, you would use this registration key to grab that information and then install our agent, apply the registration key, and then boom, those things will get added to the Windows Virtual Desktop service, and you can start managing them from here.
Got it.
So as I mentioned, I can host either full desktops or I can create collections of applications and make those available as well. This particular deployment, I'm hosting the full desktop. I've got 7 users assigned to it, but I can also create a collection of app groups and then create a host pool and say, I want this host pool to host this set of apps. And then I can assign different users to different apps. So pretty much everything that you've seen within our REST APIs and our PowerShell will be exposed up into this UX. And you'll also see tighter integration with things like Azure Files and all the FS Logic technologies. You can do all of those settings from within this portal as well. So again, this is coming soon, not there yet in the private preview. I'm sure most of you out there that are IT admins are more comfortable with PowerShell and other things that you can automate and can build into your existing IT automation system.
Well, yeah, when you've got to set maybe 10,000 settings at a time, or for 18,000 users, that's always a bit more efficient a lot of times than the UX will be.
That's right. It's great for the UX to to build out a test environment, get a deployment up and running, start doing some validation. So the marketplace tool is available now. I invite you guys to go run that, start kicking the tires on it and playing with it. And then when you're feeling like getting down and dirty, get into our PowerShell and really start experimenting with the capabilities.
Awesome. So right here within the Azure portal, effectively you can manage Windows Virtual Desktop right there. Now, along with all of your other Azure services, you have a second portal to go to, so it's cool. It's all integrated as well.
Yeah, that's right.
So really good set of updates, all the things that you can do here in terms of Windows Virtual Desktop, but where would you recommend people go to learn more and really get their hands on the preview?
Well, we've got the preview up and running now. You can go to akamai.ms/WVD. I think we got that up here. The WVD preview will take you there as well. Go by the booths of our partners. I think we have ThinPrint here in Lakeside. We've got the Samsung folks. We've got the Citrix booth. Swing by those guys and talk with them. There's a great session coming up by Peter Viglevin at 2:10, and if I remember right, it's 3418. 2:10. Later today, I want to see all of you in Peter's session. He's going to spend an hour going into this in much more detail.
Very cool. Thanks for joining us today, Scott. And of course, keep watching Microsoft Mechanics for the latest updates. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. We'll catch you next time.
You get to give away some goodies.
All right, we're going to give away some goodies. Thank you. Stay here, everybody, because we're going to give away some nice Surface headphones.